You see something that wasn't there before. You hear someone calling for you. You check to make sure you're alone. And the worst part is, you are. I lived in this apartment for about 3 years now. So I know that Mark wasn't there before. I noticed it one evening while watching TV. Just a dark patch on the wall across the couch. It was around the size of a quarter, but dark enough that it stood out against the paint. Wasn't sure if it was dirt or whatever. I tried scratching it with my nails, but that didn't work. So I grabbed a rag and some cleaner. I wiped the area for about a minute or two. When I wiped it down with a clean cloth, the mark was still there. Exactly the same. The next night, I noticed something else. From where I was sitting on the couch, the stain looked like a face. Two dark spots resembling eyes, and a lighter spot for the rest of the face. When I stood up and walked closer, it disappeared. Just the stain again. I told a couple of friends about it. They just laughed and said it was pareidolia. Seeing faces better than any. One of them even sat down on the couch to check. He looked at the wall for a few seconds and said, "Yeah, no, I kinda see it." That didn't make me feel any better. After that, I started noticing it more. I feel drawn to it. I know it's there, so I just can't stop looking at it. Some nights, I can't make out the face, just a vague outline. Other nights, it was clear and vivid. The eyes are deeper, the mouth part is defined. One night, I took a picture of it. The picture on my phone was so clear. You can see the details of it. But when I stood up and walked over to check it, it was just a small mark. It didn't sit well with me, so I decided to cover it up. I took a photo from the hallway and hung it over the spot. I guess problem solved. But the frame kept falling. Not immediately. Usually a few hours later. Sometimes in the middle of the night. I checked the hook. It was tight. I tried a different nail. Changed it to canvas painting so it wouldn't break easily. Same thing. After the fifth time it fell over, I just gave up. So I thought of painting over it. I rolled a fresh coat right over the stain. When it dried, the wall completely clean again. For 2 days, I didn't notice anything. No marks, no faces, just a plain wall. I sat down on the couch, turned on the TV, and from that same spot, I saw it. The mark was back, right through the fresh paint. The shape was clearer now. The eyes were darker. The mouth had more detail. And once you saw the face, you couldn't stop seeing it. I came home late from work. Before I could turn on the lights, something caught my eye. The living room was dark, but I could still see the wall across the couch. Then, my eyes adjusted. The mark was no longer in the wall. In place of it was a figure. It was tall and slender. It was standing like it was waiting for something. A few months ago, my wife and a friend of ours signed up for a night hike. It was a pretty popular mountain trail. Locals and tourists go there all the time. Families during the day, small guided groups at night. It was about 2 hours from the city, so it was still fairly close. They do require a guide if you're hiking that late, mostly because of wildlife and the terrain. So before we started, the guide gathered everyone at the trailhead. There were 6 of us in total. 3 from my group, 2 friends who came together, and the guide. Before we started walking, he gave us the usual talk. Wildlife and fauna in the area, where the mountain was important for the ecosystem. What animals lived around the trail. He talked about birds, small animals, plants and trees that only grow in that part of the forest. He clearly knew the place really well. The guided tour was amazing. The whole thing was well organized and safe. Then we started the trail around midnight. The guide walked ahead with a headlamp. The rest of us followed behind. For the first 20 minutes, everyone was talking, asking questions, cracking jokes, looking through the darkness and the trees. Then the guide suddenly stopped walking. He turned around and asked, "Did any one of you step off the trail?" We all said no. He shined his light behind us, then towards the trees. He stared for a few seconds, like he was looking for something. Everyone went quiet. Then he just nodded and said, "All right, let's keep moving." The rest of the hike was quieter after that. No one really asked questions anymore. We finished the trail, reached the ridge, took pictures, stayed there for maybe 30 minutes to catch our breath and rest, then headed back down. Nothing strange happened after that. We got back to the parking lot, thanked the guide, and went home. That should have been the end of it. But a few days later, something strange started happening. I was at a grocery, just picking up a few things. I was standing in one of the aisles when I heard someone shout my name. It was my wife's voice. Loud, calling for me. My first thought was that I forgot my wallet again. It happened before, more than I would like to admit. But the voice kept calling, louder each time. People around me started looking around, trying to figure it out where it was coming from. I walked down the aisle toward the sound, then another. But every time, there was no one there. After a couple of that back and forth, I got worried and called my wife. She answered right away. She sounded confused. Said she'd been home the whole time. So I told myself it must have been someone else, someone who just sounded like her. But why would they know my name? I had just finished shopping and went home. After a few nights, I was working in my home office, typing on my computer. My wife was in the shower down the hall. Then I heard her voice again, calling my name. This time, it sounded like it was inside the room, right beside me.
Hey.
I turned around to look. No one there. I stepped into the hallway. The shower was still running. I knocked on the bathroom door, as if she had called for me. She said no. I didn't tell her what I heard. I just went back to my desk. But after that, it kept happening. Sometimes when I was alone, sometimes when my wife was in another room, I'd hear someone say my name. Always someone I knew. My wife, my brother, and another time a friend I haven't spoken to in months. The voice was sometimes loud, other times soft, like a whisper. Either way, it makes you turn around.
Hey.
Every time I checked, no one was there. Last week, it happened again. I was sitting in the living room late at night. The house was quiet. My wife had already gone to bed. Then, I heard her voice from the hallway, whispering my name. It wasn't shouting this time, just a whisper. I stood up and walked toward the hallway. The bedroom door was closed. The lights were off. I opened the door. She was asleep. I stood there for a minute, just watching her, trying to convince myself I just imagined it. Then, I remembered something the guide said before we started the hike. At that time, it sounded like a joke. Just something to keep people from wandering off the trail. He said some things in the mountain stay hidden. Shadows you might never see. Then, he said one more thing. If you hear someone calling your name from beyond the trees, don't answer. Because sometimes, it isn't someone you know. I've always been interested in aliens and ghosts. Anything supernatural, I guess. Just the idea that something or someone is out there fascinates me. I don't really talk about it with people. Don't get me wrong, I did try. It just didn't end well. So, I mostly keep it to myself. So much content to digest. Articles, stories, videos, watching interviews and theories. There's a lot. People talking about things they claim they saw but just couldn't explain. Most of it is probably garbage. Even I can tell. But sometimes, a story sticks with you. And sometimes, it happens to you. This happened during my second year in high school. A new student joined our class halfway through the semester. She transferred in from another school. The teacher introduced her quickly and moved on. She didn't stand out much. Quiet, always sitting near the back of the room. But after a few days, I started noticing little things. She didn't talk to anyone, not before class, not after. She'd stay in our room during breaks. Never saw her eat or drink. She never did. Not once. One day, the teacher asked a question during class. A topic we haven't discussed yet. It wasn't even our book. That teacher loves adding some university level questions to keep us on our toes, I guess. She raised her hand and answered immediately. Like she already knew the answer, even before the question. The teacher looked impressed and confused at the same time. Asked her how'd she know that. She just said, I just do. Things like that kept happening. Small things. Something I just can't help but notice. Sometimes she'd watch people for a little too long. Like she was studying them. One time, I walked behind her during a break. She had a notebook open. The writing didn't look like normal notes. It wasn't words, just shapes, lines, patterns repeating across the page. And they're not like any other language or anything like that. So I guess she was just scribbling random stuff, as we all do. One day, after class, I saw her at the back of our school. It was late. Almost no one was around. She was near the dumpsters behind the building, crouched down, facing away from me. At first, I thought she dropped something or was trying to throw something out. Then I heard a sound. I stopped walking. She was eating something. Whatever it was on the ground. I took a step closer without really thinking. She turned her head. For a second, we looked at each other. There was something dark around her mouth. She stood up, wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, and walked past me. Didn't say anything. The next morning, I heard people talking. One of the students had been reported missing. I tried to connect the dots, and I tried telling people what I saw. A friend, another classmate, eventually one of the school staff. No one believed me. They said she was just probably eating. Or maybe she was feeding an animal. Or I just completely misunderstood what I saw. And honestly, maybe they're right. Because she still shows up to class every day. Same seat, same weird scribbles on her notebook, same quiet look on her face. But sometimes, she looks at me during class, just for a second. And every time she does, she smiles, like she's waiting to see what I do next.